Hello, everyone. I'm Jarrell, the developer of the Silver Falls games. Thanks for stopping by. Now, I just wanted to share some updates with you. Uh, I guess the title of the video kind of says it. I was going to submit Silver Falls White Inside its Umbra to Nintendo on Friday, and as I was preparing uh, that morning to finalize the game, Unity, which is the development software I use, uh, it corrupted the project. It broke it, and I spent a while trying to get Unity to just open it. Uh, and Unity has a habit of um, certain versions of Unity are much less stable than others. This version I found out while I was using it, which I used to develop for Wii U, it has a habit of just corrupting your project. So sometimes when you close your project and then sometimes when you open it, it will actually just randomly corrupt a bunch of the files that are in your project, or it'll just delete a bunch of stuff. So I've gotten to the habit of always backing up the entire project before I open it in Unity and then before I close out of Unity. So luckily, before I had closed out of Unity, I made a backup of the entire project, so I didn't lose any progress, uh, but I had to restore the project from the backup, so it actually ate up an entire day. So I lost the window to submit the project on Friday, which is quite irritating. I'm very annoyed by that, but I am simultaneously developing 7 titles at the moment, so I just uh, went on ahead and worked on some other projects while Unity spent more than 24 hours restoring my project from a backup and then opening it and then rebuilding the project again, which is very annoying. But I've been working with Unity for a long time now, and for many of you that have been around since our first release on the 3DS, which is Three Down Stars, uh, it feels like we've all been on this really really fun journey together where just when you think you know anything, you know everything that could go wrong, Unity brings us a fun surprise, and hey, Unity has this whole new disaster for you to enjoy and figure out. So I think this is pretty fun. I just wanted to share it, all this with you because it does feel like we're on this fun journey together where we get to see what sort of disaster comes up next. So we're a couple days behind on submitting White Inside Its Umbra to Nintendo. So now I just have the weekend to polish up a couple more things. But unfortunately, that means I'm gonna have to cut out a little bit of the extra content, some extra apps that I wanted to put on the tech pad in the game, and then hopefully I can add that content in at a later date with an update because there's a lot of stuff I really want to include. But this is not the first time that Unity corrupted this project. I've actually lost a couple of days over the course of development because Unity had corrupted the project before, and then I had to keep restoring backups. It's a very slow process. It's very unfortunate. So there are some things that I had to cut out. Right now, I'm just making sure the game is as polished as it can be, and I will be submitting it at the start of the work week for Nintendo, which would be Monday coming for everyone. So that's unfortunate. Uh, but that happens with Unity. You get used to it, and I don't trust Unity ever. Now, unfortunately, I've also had a little bit more bad luck. One of my 3DS development units, the SD card slot, something broke with the spring in it this evening, and so it won't hang on to the SD card when I put that into the console. Now the SD card um, pops out, and I unfortunately need all my development units because I'm trying to get multiplayer implemented in Silver Falls Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers for the 3DS. I would really like to have multiplayer for that. Um, and so I'm going to have to work out a some sort of duct tape solution so I can get that working properly. It's a bit unfortunate, but I have been using these development units heavily over the past 3 years or so. So I would think those springs probably weren't designed to take as many um, inserts and ejects as I've been as have been through those units. So that's unfortunate as well. So you know what? You just got to roll with the punches and come up with a duct tape solution. So I was hoping to get some video and image stuff to share with you, but I'm a little bit behind now because of the couple setbacks that we've had over the past couple days. For anyone that's been around the early days of Silver Falls, you might have recalled. Um, I'm not sure if I ever dropped the name, but I did share some screenshots. And some of you who have messaged directly from time to time to chat about games, I may have mentioned um, something called Ruby River, which was to be an open world first person um, game that I wanted to put on the 3DS, and that was also in the Silver Falls series. And I scrapped it early on when I was sort of feeling out what games would be best in terms of um, building the story and the lore and the characters. And I thought this one has really low priority. If I get to it, it's going to be very far down the line. And so I scrapped that. Ruby River was scrapped, but I hung on to some of the framework um, and I thought, well, Gaiden on the Wii U, Silver Falls Gaiden, will have a sort of building system, and that you'll be able to collect resources and build structures based on a little template pieces. You can sort of build your own fort, clubhouse sort of thing with your friends, and that's using some code that I had created for Ruby River, which was on the 3DS. And um, I was sort of mulling over the numbers and the amount of time that I had, and I thought, well, if it's using code that was originally created for the 3DS and I need to finish that, why don't I just finish it on the 3DS and then port it up to the Wii U? And I thought if I did that, I may as well just take the scrapped Ruby River concept and I can fine tune that and just make it into a small, very chill, very relaxing, pretty cool uh, uh, it could be its whole other game that's built into Gaiden, Deathly Delusion Destroyers. So technically, I'm working on 8 titles simultaneously, which is exciting. And I hope people have a lot of fun with Gaiden on the 3DS now when it comes out. So Gaiden, Deathly Delusion Destroyers will not only just be uh, an RPG battle game, it will also be an open world exploration, survival, building game. So that's quite exciting. I don't have any video or photos to show you at the moment. I can't record video uh, of the 3DS. I don't have a setup for that, and I can't record it as I'm developing it on the computer because it doesn't display the graphics the same that it does on the hardware. It doesn't draw the textures on the terrain, so it just looks like a solid color. So it doesn't look very good, does it? So there's that as well. And at this point, just a check in on a personal level. I'm pushing pretty far past my physical limits now at this point. I've been pushing my work hours um, throughout the week, taking very little breaks. So I'm maxed out here. This is my maximum. This is 100% of 100% of my power. Uh, and I'm actually on autopilot at this point. I normally work at a very efficient level, and I was doing that for about 2 months, and I've hit a point where I'm on autopilot now. So at certain points during the day, I'll sit down with my notepad and I'll write down what needs to be done. And then I sort of just go into a trance in front of the computer because I'm I'm at the bottom of my energy reserves here, and I kind of just go on autopilot. And then whatever my brain wants to do, I kind of think, try to remember what was on the notepad, and then just see if you can get that done. So I'm uh, I'm really pushing it here because I've got now only have a couple weeks to get these 7 titles submitted. So honestly, my entire body is running on Cheetos and this really cool Lifesavers candies that I found, and coffee. So the games that I'm working on now that I'm finishing, I'm not actually working on those games myself anymore. Those games are being made by Cheetos and candy and coffee. And if those games turn out a little bit weird, you'll probably know why. It's because uh, I'm on autopilot, and the filter in my brain that normally says, this is probably a little too weird, maybe dial that back a bit, that filter's not activated anymore. That system has shut down, so I'm just making games on autopilot. So if there's real weird stuff in the upcoming games, hey, you know why? Anyway, thanks for sticking around. I'm probably just gonna have to keep shoveling candy and Cheetos down my mouth until these games are done. That seems to be the way to sustain my energy levels. So I don't really, I mean, I don't normally, I'm quite normally quite careful with my diet. I think it's very important to um, watch your diet and have a healthy diet, have a healthy lifestyle with, regular exercise at a reasonable level, especially when you're in your 30s. You need to look after your health. Um, but at this point, I only have a couple of weeks to get these games in. I am on track to get these games submitted on time, so don't worry. But as we've all seen the past couple, well, the past week, um, there are things going on in Europe at the moment. And when I saw when that was announced, when that started happening, I didn't want to announce the prices of my titles because I know that things around the world are going to get more expensive. And so I'm waiting to see how things settle a bit. Um, and I'm most likely going to launch my games at a bit lower price than I had originally intended, because things like fuel, gas, other things, because of the things that are going on in Europe right now, those things are going to be more expensive, and those things are much more important than video games. So I'm watching closely to see how the situation turns out, and I'll most likely be um, putting my games at a lower price than I originally announced and intended, particularly in the European region. I'm going to be lowering the price of the games a fair bit. Um, thanks very much for watching. I appreciate you checking in. I've probably been rambling because again, my body's just running on Cheetos and candy right now. I'm gonna get back to work and then see how far I get and try and get these games ready to submit to Nintendo. So you take care of yourself, be well, and don't eat too many Cheetos. Don't be like me. See ya.